Oh boy. It's Saturday, January 10th. The background of my computer is mountains and snow. Now that's what winter is. That's what winter is supposed to be. Yesterday it was like 70 degrees or some shit like that in Texas. Today it's like fucking I don't even know. I don't even know what the temperature is right now, but let's see. 51 degrees right now, and it's going to be like 53. And 50s, and 60s all this week in January. So, yeah, that's not winter. So, was watching Voyager. Um, kind of got a little bored with that, so I'm rewatching TNG. And I was just thinking, there wouldn't have been Star Trek at all with the original series, right? But the next generation, I would say the Next Generation series actually made Star Trek the the Star Trek thing a franchise. That's what made it a franchise because you can tell that like they like gave it because of the way things were back when TNG launched. It was back in like the old school of TV, the old school way of doing things in TV. They like probably made a pilot or something, and like it was like okay, good, and then they gave it the first season, and then the first season was received good enough, and then on and on and on. And of course, because TNG had been doing so good in the first and second and third, and I think in like the fourth or fifth season is when Deep Space Nine uh, came around. I think that's when that came around. That's why Deep Space Nine, was originally launched. I wasn't too big of a fan of Deep Space Nine when it originally launched, but it really grew on me, especially as the seasons, ticked on. And as the main reason I wasn't a big fan of it was because I didn't really have my own TV. I didn't really have a lot of access to television growing up because we had one TV in our house, and the TV time was very limited. Very limited. But yeah, without the next generation, there would like there would be no franchise, and they're really. I will say this again. They're really boning up um, like the legacy of Star Trek. I don't even know. mean, I think Picard was the only one they've made that's gone further out past, because they did TNG, DS9, and Voyager, and then Picard was one that was after that. All the other ones were before. So it's like, what are you doing? You have no ability to like write after that stuff. Let's go back to the glory days. Let's make Star Trek great again. Let's fight Klingons. Dude, this isn't Star Wars. Star Trek is not Star Wars. What are you going to give them? Lightsabers? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry Americans don't like thinking and don't like, like thinking stuff shows, but like that's kind of what Star Trek always basically was. Like, yeah, I know Kirk was like, a sex maniac and they fought a lot of Klingons and stuff, but it was the reason I fell in love with it, and I watched it. And I actually watched it with my dad. It was like one of the only shows I watched with my dad and my mom, is because it was an intellectual show. It was a show that was a it was a kind of Twilight Zone-y Outer Limits show with that was Star Trek also. It wasn't like, hmm, I don't know. Let's just. It didn't. It wasn't like the last. I guess what season of Deep Space Nine, where it was like all about the Federation Dominion War, which that was weird, by the way. The Deep Space Nine was like about the Federation Dominion War, and then it was also about Cisco's role as the emissary and stuff. Like that was just like that was weird. Like that, all of that was just weird. Like it's an interesting storyline to like carry through the entire Deep Space Nine thing. Cisco being the emissary, I like that. It's another thing they never did anything with because have no follow through on anything. And now that actor is probably too old to, you know. I mean, it's 20 years later, so it's like all the people from Deep Space Nine are 20 years older now. So like, well, I mean, you can't like release a mini series or something. It's too late. They're 20 years older now. So, oh well. Oh, what are you gonna do? So, like I said, I don't know what's gonna be the next good Star Trek show, but that's not any of the other things. Maybe this Starfleet Academy might be something good. I could see the Starfleet Academy being something interesting though. Just because it could focus more on character development and they could focus more on like not, you know, like, ooh, we're gonna like beat people up and just base stupid Americans. Like, what are we gonna basically who are we gonna shoot this week? Kind of stuff. I had another idea for a Star Trek series, but it's kind of weird. It's a very bureaucratic series. It's called First Contact. Like I said, it would be a non-episodic series. It'd be like a Netflix version or something like that for Paramount. It'd be a bingeable Paramount Star Trek series. It's like a Star Trek series. I call it First Contact because it's like a series that basically like that the TNG episode First Contact with Riker, but expound on that episode of First Contact, an entire series of that focuses on First Contact teams and what they go through with making first contact. And it would just be like every season would be like a different first contact world and stuff. So I think that would be an interesting Star Trek series for Paramount to make. But whatever. Anyways, there you are. Tax rich people. Remember to kneecap them and lots of boobs for everybody. Boobs, boobs, boobs.